Welcome to LSC, it's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Fred Hamilton, who is a longtime Hampton High track coach. And we've been trying to get you here, and I finally got a hold of you and got you in here. But you've been over to Hampton for a long, long time. But before we talk about that, let's go back, because you didn't grow up here.
No, I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia.
All right, now in Roanoke, you're talking western part of the state, a little different than here, and talk a little bit about that experience.
Well, back then, that was back in 1959, 59 to 63, when I graduated with 63. That time, you still had segregated schools.
Right.
And I went to all-black school, Luce Addison High School. I had somewhere between 900 to 1,000 athletes.
Wow.
I mean, students there.
Right.
And we competed in a league called the VIA, which was made up of predominant, well, all black high schools throughout the state of Virginia, including all the way down to Tidewater, all the way out to Roanoke area, where you had Richmond, you had Maggie Walker. Down in Tidewater, you had Norcom, Crestwood, and all those. So we didn't participate against all those schools, but they were all involved in the VIA.
Okay.
And
but you played some out of state.
And we played out of state. We were fortunate. We were able to go to West Virginia for 2 games a year, and we played down in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina. We played football down there.
Wow.
So we had an opportunity. One thing about back then, you had to travel. It wasn't staying around the local. We did a lot of traveling, which we loved.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you were in high school, what did you participate in?
I played primarily, my major sport was track.
Right.
But I started 2 years on the football team, was captain my senior year on the football team.
What position did you play?
I played on football, believe it or not, I played offensive guard, and I played no linebacker.
Wow.
And now, my line average, I was the smallest, one of the smallest guys on the line. We had a big team. We had a big team. We had backs that average 190 pounds in the backfield. That's when you had the full T backfield and all that.
Yeah.
So, and then I played a little basketball and then, of course, track.
All right, now, in track, what were your specialties?
Well, believe it or not, I started out trying to long jump. I tried to pole vault until back then with the old stiff poles.
Right,
and you landed the sawdust and I hit on my back, and I knocked the breath out of myself. I said, that wasn't for me.
That's enough of that.
I left that alone. And then I started running, and I liked running.
Okay.
And I ended up basically being anywhere. I run anything from 400 meters up to a mile in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, so I participated in 400, 800, and a mile in high school, and the relay team.
Right. Now, was the 440 still considered almost almost a distance a little bit? It wasn't much of a sprint back then, was it?
Back then, it wasn't really called a sprint as it is today.
Right.
440 yards, yeah.
All right, so during that time, you had to develop some ability to be able to use your time. And we talked about time management, and you learn this as an athlete growing up. Did track help you more than the other sports, you think?
Yeah, well, with track, I knew I had to go out and get it done myself.
Right.
I couldn't rely on anybody else.
Not a team concept.
It wasn't a team concept.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to compete well against other individuals, I had to go out and prepare myself beyond what was taking place at school. So I would do a lot of running on the weekends, and anytime I could get a chance, I constantly would run, because I love running.
Yeah.
I love running.
All right, now you get recruited, you go to Virginia State up in Petersburg.
That's correct, yeah.
A little different now, you're going from a high school where you kind of a pretty good guy. I mean, you played 3 sports, everybody knows you. Now you're going to be a little fish in a big pond.
Well, the thing about Virginia State, I had been down to see State because it used to have a state track meet there.
Oh, okay.
And they offered me a scholarship, and I didn't feel intimidated by going down there to run.
You figured you could handle it with anybody.
Because I knew going down there, basically, I could hold my own.
Right.
I've never been afraid to compete.
Well, that's great.
I mean, I've been in races where I know I wasn't the best, but I didn't compete like that. I competed with as if I was the best. So that never bothered me. That never bothered me.
All right, now 4 years there. Did you just primarily do track? Did you do
all track?
All track.
I was given a scholarship in track, and Coach William Bennett, who was the track coach at the time, he let it be known, don't come down here thinking you're going to try to play some football. You're not.
This is it.
This is it. All you're going to do is run track. Yeah.
And then in college, did you, same thing, the 448, 84?
I ended up being a 400, 800 runner in college.
Okay, no more mile.
I ran miles. I ran miles in the dual meets and things, but in the end, it came down to 400 and 800.
Right.
So when I left there, I had the mile record, I had the 800 record, and I was on the relay teams that had some records. So I did okay for the 4 years I was there.
I think you did pretty good. All right, then you come down to Hampton to do your student teaching. Now, I'm thinking about this. If you'd have done your student teaching in Richmond or in Petersburg, you might have ended up there, but you came down here to where?
I came down here. My sister was living here in Hampton. And of course, I didn't have a whole lot of money in school, so
right.
you had to live in the community.
Right.
So which means you had to pay room and board and all that. So I was looking at the cheapest way to go. So when I applied for my student teaching area, I asked them to assign me to Newport News. Right. I thought I was going to go to Carver.
Right.
But it turned out they told me they couldn't get me into Carver, but they could get me into Lindsay, which was the junior high school then. And it was just opening, brand new school, just opening. And
that was in when? But that's
68.
68.
All of 68 when they opened Lindsay. So I said, okay, as long as it's in Hampton, that's even better, because my sister lived in Hampton.
Right.
So I started my student teaching in Hampton under Al Inslee.
Al Inslee.
And he was my supervisor. So I finished that in November. I had one class to finish, a seminar to finish at Virginia State.
Right.
And I commuted back and forth to finish that up, and they offered me a job.
At Lindsay?
At Lindsay. They offered me a job just teaching health and physical education, and allowed me that one day to go up there and do
your class.
Do that class.
Well, that
seminar,
was great.
which it was only 3 times. Yeah.
Right, but that was kind of nice that you was able to do that. But wasn't it nice to be able to teach at school that you did your student teaching?
It was great. It really was great, because I had established a relationship with the kids. And lo and behold, I was able to assist Coach Al in track and field at Lindsay. So that's when I really got my start, helping him out as an assistant coach at Lindsay.
All right. Then they asked you to go to Hampton as the coach.
I found out that they were looking for a coach at Hampton, and someone said, why don't you go on and apply? So I said, well, okay, I'll apply. So I went on and I applied, and I got the job.
Who was the principal? Do you remember? Was it Satella over there?
No, it wasn't Satella. I can't remember right now.
But anyway, you got the job.
I see his face, but I can't remember.
That's our age catching up with us.
Oh, yeah. I got the job over there in the fall, which would have been the fall of 69.
69.
Right.
So, and as a track coach, and you were there for a long time, and then took a 5-year break, and now so total coaching years, you got to be approaching 40?
About approaching 40. I took a break there. I wasn't coaching. Vince Brown came in and coached, but I still was coaching. I assisted Vince Brown, who eventually went to Christopher Newport and did wonders up there. And as a matter of fact, Vince asked me would I come up there and be one of his assistants. But I told him, no, I love the high school.
You're happy where you are.
I love the high school, working with the high school kids. And then I got back into it full time, and been there since. Like I said, it's been close to 40 years now.
Well, talk about, can you remember some of the athletes that went through your program?
Well,
and I know you can't remember all of them.
I put it this way. I don't want to overlook any kids, but I will point out the first big athlete I had, or what I say super athlete, was Steve Riddick.
Right.
I got him my first year. And he went on to do some great things. Of course, he ended up being an Olympian.
Could you see his ability?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he didn't see it at first.
Right.
And I told him, I said, son, you want to go to school? He said, Coach, I can't go to school. I got 13 kids in my family. I said, well, I tell you what, where you run track, you can go. So I wanted him to go to Virginia State.
Right.
And Coach Bennett kept shuffling his feet and wouldn't come. And in the meantime, Coach Dick Price at Norfolk State. Oh, he was dying to get it.
I'll bet.
He said, Coach, I got to have him. I got to have him. I know you're trying to ship him to Virginia State, but I got to have him.
Well, you're trying to take care of your alma mater. Right. I mean, that goes without saying.
So when it was getting a little late and Bennett hadn't made a commitment, I got on the phone. I called Dick. I said, Coach Price, if you still want Riddick, he's available. He said, give me 30 minutes to get through that hole in the wall. And in 30 minutes, he was from Norfolk, and the rest is history. Of course, he signed him, and the kid went on and did some great things at Norfolk State.
And then becoming an Olympian.
And became an Olympian. Another kid I can remember, Dale Davis, was an outstanding athlete for me. He won a state, individual state championship for me. And Alfonso, a kid named Alfonso. I can't think of Alfonso's last name right now, but he won the state championship in 800 meters for me.
Okay.
And the last kid is Lavelle Handy. Lavelle Handy will be graduating from George Mason this year. He's by far my most versatile super athlete.
Could do more than one thing.
He could long jump at state level, triple jump, hurl, both sets of hurl, highs and intermediates, and he ran on all the relays. He was a super kid. He's the most versatile one I've ever had.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. This has been great because I'm finding out things I didn't know.
Right.
I forgot about Riddick, but when you look at these athletes, and we talked about time management, what makes a track participant a little bit better maybe than somebody that plays on a team sport, being able to manage his time and end up with good grades?
Well, one thing, to be a track athlete, you have to love running. You have to like running.
Right.
And understand that you got to deal with running outside your comfort zone, being outside of being comfortable all the time.
Right.
And you don't have time to take breaks. You can't rely on anybody else. So you have to get yourself ready. So if you learn how to manage yourself in that respect, you learn how to do a lot of other things that'll help you out later in life. I had a lot of kids to come back and thank me for some things we've done.
Well, that's great. And that's a good part of coaching.
Through the track, yeah, through track, they'll come back and say, you know, when we were doing this, later on when I got in this experience, I remembered, hey, I got through that, I can get through this.
Right.
And when one young man told me, said when his military instructor was hollering at him, he said, oh, that ain't nobody but Coach Ham. Because, you know, I'm very vocal with him. So he said, I ain't none heard this before. So those type of experiences have helped a lot of young guys. And that's the whole thing about it. Having kids available so you can share things with them and try to put them on the right road and let them use those experiences later on in life to make them better individuals.
Thanks for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Fred Hamilton. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Till next time.